When you're looping the killer in this tile, the one you want to connect it with is this one over here. This tile here. This is actually my favorite and the strongest tile in the game, in my opinion. He's a swinger. Let's go this way. The first thing we want to do is divide the map into different sections. So first off, guys, we have the main building, which is basically half of the map, and it's going to be this entire building. Now, if you look behind you, this will be all open space outside of the main building, outside of the spaceship. And of course, everything will look very similar, but depending on RNG, you're going to get different loops. So starting off at the very front, I want to talk about this loop right here with this palette. This is actually a very strong loop, and you're always going to get the same tiles. So you're going to get this L-shaped loop as well as this one here. Sometimes you'll have this hook, sometimes you won't, but you will have this piece here. Now, the palette can spawn on the left side or it can spawn on the right side. Now, the way I've seen people loop this tile is just going in circles until the killer gets too close to them. And when that happens, they just go ahead and drop the pallet. Now, what I would say is when you're looping this tile, you have the ability to actually make it all the way across to this one. And depending on which direction the killer is going, you can go back and reach the pallet again. When you're looping the killer in this tile, the one you want to connect it with is this one over here. This tile here. This is actually my favorite and the strongest tile in the game, in my opinion. This is like an L-shaped tile, and you can see the killer as you're looping this. You want to be pointing down so that you can see behind the tile and see which way the killer is going. But the way you want to loop this is going in the direction of the vault. So you have a vault here, but it can also spawn on this side. Instead of this opening, that could be a vault as well. So in this scenario, what we want to do is loop counterclockwise. So we'll be going this way, right? When the killer gets really close, we can vault the window. And this is a really long wall. The killer can choose to either vault the window or go in that direction. If he goes in this direction, this is perfect for you, because then you can just go back to the same loop, go back here to the L-shaped tile, and then you can get the vault again if you needed to, or just go back that way if you have enough distance from the killer. If the window was to spawn here, then you would be looping clockwise instead of counterclockwise. So you'd be going this way, right? And then taking the window here. He's a swinger. Go this way. This is what I'm talking about. Point down so you can see which way the killer is going. We'll go back to this pallet here, and these are the two that you want to connect. Now, guys, what makes these tiles very strong is the fact that you have a pallet. If you don't have a pallet, it's going to be very difficult to loop the killer, because the killer can just catch up to you very, very fast. If it's not your death hook, or if you're not hurt, just take the hit instead of dropping the pallet and leave the pallet up, and then use the distance that you get from the hit to make it to a different tile. As you enter the main building through the front, you're going to see this pallet here and this round table, which actually works really well for looping killers. And the way you want to do this, just keep going in circles until the killer catches up to you. At that point, when you're near the pallet, you can just stop, pretend you're gonna drop it, and keep going. If the killer respects the pallet, what they'll do is they'll go this way, and you will gain a lot of distance, and you can make it another trip around this table before you drop the pallet. What I will say though, instead of dropping the pallet, when you're here and the killer's getting very close, come back to this tile and loop it this way. Fake it and just keep running. That's how you do it. She's gonna catch up here. We drop it here. She respects the pallet, guys. Alright, so if we keep going deeper into the main building, you're gonna have two sections. And you can think of it as two rectangles. You're gonna have one on this side, and you're gonna have one on this side. The way you play this, a lot of people don't know, is by using these little guys here. So this right here, if you run through it, is going to expel a steam that if the killer walks through that steam, is going to slow them down. So as you walk through it, it'll take a second and then the steam will show up. If that steam hits the killer, it will slow them down. Not only their regular base speed, but also any lunges. Like for example, Chucky, Demogorgon, they're all going to be slowed down. You know what we're gonna do? We are going to abuse the window. That's what we're gonna do. But first, we're gonna make her freeze herself. Slows her down, and we make it to the window. Once you walk through it, the light will turn red, and you're gonna have to reset the system to be able to use it again. Now there is a timer, and you're gonna have to wait for that timer before you can reset the pipe. And there it is, just by pulling that handle, it is reset and you can use it again. Now, depending on RNG, there's always going to be two of these steam machines, I guess. And they're gonna be located either here, they can be located here, on this corner over here. They could also be right here. Or the last option, they could be on this corner right here instead of the pallet. Now that you know about the steam, let's talk about how to use it properly. And that is by using this window. So as you're coming into the spaceship, you want to get that vault as soon as possible. When you vault this window, the killer can either vault the window as well. They can come from that drop right there, or they can come from this side. The good thing is that there is a little hole that you can see the killer through if he decides to go that way or if he decides to go the other way. If the killer decides to go through that drop, then that's perfect for you because you can go back up through the ramp, go through this here, slow them down, and make it all the way across until you reach that window again. Alright, now let's make it to the window. Perfect, she went that way, so we can go this way. We have the pallet here. She's gonna respect. Yes, of course she does. She's gonna come around and we can use the window again. This is what I mean, guys. Slows her down. And we make it to the window. Oh yes, lady. If the killer decides to go through the ramp, then you have no other choice but to try and go all the way to this pallet here, which is very useful. Just loop this very simply like this, and then drop the pallet when you need to, or just keep going and try and make it back to the round table. If this pallet is no longer here and you're aware of that, then when you drop from the window and the killer decides to go through the ramp, you're gonna have to use one of the tiles here. Gonna respect? Yes, of course she does. She's gonna come around and we can use the window again. This is what I mean, guys. Now she's gonna go the other way. And don't forget, we have dead heart still. But we have a pallet right here that we can use. We're gonna keep going. Take the window. Go to her. And dead hard. And then go back. Slows her down. And we make it to the window. Oh yes, lady. Oh yes, lady. Now, can we make it to the little spaceship here? Yes, we can. Yes, we can.